Hello. Want to make sure I got good lighting over here. Hello. I thought I would come on and just wanted to talk about overcoming strongholds in the spirit of condemnation, the spirit of guilt. So this is something that was impressed upon my heart on how the Lord dealt with me about strongholds. First, it had to begin with me. And I want to share this because I feel that this will help somebody in where they are now in understanding the battle that wages war against your soul when it comes to strongholds, and how the enemy wants to keep you in a place where you are where you continue to go in cycles. You continue to go around the same mounds, as some would say. You continue to face the same things and never overcoming it, never progressing or being more or growing or moving forward as you ought to move forward. And I just want to come on and share my experience on how, today the Lord allowed me to even see an area in my life, and one that the enemy has kept me blind to because it became a part of my personality. And I'm referring to the spirit of condemnation. And when I say that, for many it may be different on how it operates in an individual's life, but for me, I had to see and be able to identify, as we all do. And let me say this: being able to identify those ungodly cycles and strongholds in your life is the first thing that you must do. So I was able to identify this area in my life and where the enemy has had me blind and just not able to recognize it because I didn't see anything wrong, being that it was a part of who I was. And we take on these spirits of these strongholds. They become a part of you because they have been embedded into your personality for so long. And for me, that was the case, and for many others, that is the case. These are rooted issues. Rooted. When I say rooted, they're rooted in your personality. They're rooted in your behavior, and they're undetectable. That is why we need God to shine light on these things. That is why we have to examine every thought that presents itself in our mind, because the battle is in the mind. So I thank God today I was able to identify where the enemy has been robbing me, where the enemy has been having a foothold in my life for so many years. I thank God because that was a sign that, the Lord given me of my freedom. And the more we become to be recognized and identified, we can be free. We can be liberated. But we first got to see that there is an issue. We have to see what the issue is. And that is identifying what's wrong and seeing it being a problem. So for me today, just to share it, give brief detail on that so that you can see and examine the cycles that may be in your life that you may have noticed and maybe been passive about, or you may not notice, and it caused you to want to find out where those cycles may have been, and if this is a cycle. It caused you to see if that area is a cycle and see if it's been a pattern that you notice has been happening, and if it's something that is not of God. Most of all, you want to make sure that is something that you want to make sure you're able to identify if this is and isn't of God. So for me, I was able to touch the ground today and see those areas that the Lord will seek to deliver me from and many others from. So let's deal with this. So for me, for years, I did not know that I had an issue, and I'm gonna try to break it down the best I can because when you're talking about it, and trying to share it with someone else, because it everyone could be different. Someone else can be different. I can only share my testimony of where God has me and what I have noticed the enemy has robbed me at. So let me try to get into it and get it to you the best way I can. So the way I saw this and the Lord revealed it to me was I was doing the dishes. I was at my kitchen. I was just thinking about the Lord, and thinking about how, I needed to make time and spend time with the Lord, because I got up and, got up a little later than what I should have gotten up, or I desired to get up. Normally I would want to get up earlier. But sometimes I don't always reach that early morning and making time for the Lord early mornings. And I find myself just in a place where when I had the desire to do so while I was washing dishes, because how many know that we can make time for God anywhere, in any place, at any moment, at any given time. If I want to lift my hands, I want to praise the Lord while I'm doing dishes. And for me, this was the case. But I had this overwhelming of this thought that I saw that caused me to feel condemned. It caused me to feel as if, me wanting to make time with the Lord it wouldn't have been beneficial. It wouldn't have benefited me, and it wouldn't have been enough. It wouldn't have been enough for me, because I had thoughts of, these thoughts caused me to feel condemned not waking up in the morning to pray, or really making that, time with the Lord. And nothing's wrong with that, making that personal time, making that special time with the Lord, where you can have that freedom to stay in the presence of the Lord as long as you would like to, without being rushed throughout your day. But something is wrong with it when you feel as if, God, because I wasn't able to do it that way. Now I feel as if I shouldn't try it now. I shouldn't make the effort to do it now, because it won't be good enough. And the Lord dealt with my heart right then and there. I had a examination. I took inventory of those thoughts, because I thought to myself, when is it not a good time to give God all the praise, to worship Him, to talk to the Lord concerning my heart, and just spending that quality time with Him no matter where I am? And I thought about that thought, and I said, where did that come from? And obviously, when I took inventory, I saw how the enemy has caused me to feel this way for some time. And it really robbed me from really pressing as I ought to press. It really hindered my effort in making time with God throughout my day, or feeling like I'm wrong somewhere because I did not do it the way that I felt like it should have been done. And part of that comes from, me, I take an examination again, inventory. I saw my beginnings with the Lord. I was so zealous, and sometimes I can still hold those thoughts in my mind about being zealous for the Lord in the very beginning of my walk with Him, and how I'm not as zealous and driven as I would like to be now, and I want that fire back again, and I want the Lord to do it for me like I once had it before in the beginning of my walk. Have y'all ever felt like that? And God had to deal with my heart about that, even that, remember no more the formal things, for I shall do a new thing. And how He had to let me see how those very thoughts of my beginnings with Him, how zealous I was, and how I wish I can have that back, was hindering me. And when I begin to think about how I would pray long hours in prayer, and how I would be on fire to the point where it caused me to really want to be before the Lord. And at that time in my life, I was single. I really had a drive. I was really zealous, really on fire, as some would say. But I look at that, the Lord had to let me see how the enemy was using that as something to hinder me from really being all that God would have me to be in my now. it was causing me to look at, I had it greater then than I do now. But that was not the truth, and it was a trickery of the enemy. Had my mind thinking and having this perception that the way you were was better because you did so much more. You did so much more for the Lord, and he knew that was something that I really held tight to. I admire the way that I was going after God in such a way. But the Lord had to remind me that back then you had a lot of zeal, but you didn't have knowledge. And this place that you're in now, you have gained so much knowledge. And although although you're not in that same place where you're just running and doing, I had you in this place so that I can give you and let you gain the knowledge you do. You've slowed down some, and yes, I want to pick it back up, of course. And I want to go after God in a zealous way. And of course, my life has changed tremendously. I have my family, my children, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, not making any excuses, because I can still be on fire for the Lord, and I am on fire for the Lord. I just look at that time in my life as being something just so, it's just one of my precious moments of my life where I know that I felt as if I was making impact. Not knowing that my works didn't cause God to love me any more or less, but he loved me regardless. And part of that had to do with rejection in my life. I even looked at God the way I looked at people, in some way. I felt as if I was doing a whole lot, and that I can get acceptance even from God. And we have to be careful with that, because the enemy can come in so many ways that we don't even recognize, and set up a area in our life where now it's become a stronghold, and now it's causing us to feel as if we're better off where we were at. And God, what we're giving God is not enough. And, and say for sometimes that is the truth. But sometimes, the enemy can condemn us. He can condemn us with those very thoughts that will cause us not to make the effort that God wants us to make and move forward and hinder our progress. So you have to take inventory of every thought, of every imagination that enters your mind, and see whether or not, is this just me, or is this God, or is it the enemy condemning me? Is it the enemy trying to cause me to feel a certain way where I will not move forward in the things of God as I ought to? And in this case, for me, it was. And I had to take inventory of that. I had to examine every thought. And I thank God today I was able to see what was hindering me in some area of my life. May not happen every day, but it happened, and it was undetected for many years. And I thank God I was able to get to the root of that. So I just want to tell someone, those thoughts that enter your mind, like for me, I want to just hit back on that, on how it was affecting me. How I was able to see that, that how the enemy was robbing me with not doing enough. Like, that's not enough. That's not good enough. And I saw how that was all associated with rejection. That was associated with the enemy was using these ungodly spirits, the spirit of rejection, to operate against me and cause me to have condemnation and what I was even doing towards the Lord. And we can look at God as as being like everyone else that has hurt us, or maybe had that we have dealt with in life. And God doesn't want us to see him that way. And we need to make sure that we're not looking at God in perceiving him in the wrong with the wrong perception, with the wrong outlook. And I would encourage right now. I would just want to encourage someone to examine, to take inventory.